Hello and welcome to our Understanding Your Role in Care training course. In our first module, we will discuss the fundamentals of your duty as a care worker. Together, we'll dissect the core elements that shape your identity as a care worker, from duties and responsibilities to the ethical framework that underpins your practice. So let's get started.
As soon as you enter the caregiving profession, you will be informed of the duties and responsibilities that come with your role. Each job in caregiving comes with precise expectations for the required levels of knowledge, skills, and behaviours. These will be precisely defined for each role to ensure that high levels of care and support are offered to service users in a way that is consistent and reliable. All adult care workers know what's expected of them in their daily tasks. All adult care workers treat those in their care with respect and dignity, demonstrating appropriate values and mannerisms.
Every care worker will have a job description specific to the role that contains details about the activities they will need to perform. Within a job description, the essential tasks will be officially classified as duties.
So, what duties will you have as a caregiver? Well, as a caregiver, your duties will most likely include personal care and supportive acts, learning new skills, and documenting information. Typical responsibilities would include supplying regular updates on a person's well-being and acting as an advocate for service users when needed.
As we delve into your duties, it's important to understand that your practice as a care worker is based on some ethical frameworks. We'll go over each of these frameworks one by one to help you better grasp your roles and responsibilities. Let's begin with the standards for adult care workers.
How, as a caregiver, you carry out your duties and responsibilities will be primarily driven by the standards which exist in the health and social care sector. These will be typically set at high levels to ensure that the supplied care and support are of good quality. All workers who operate in caregiving organisations and companies need to be aware of the primary sets of standards that exist. They should also have an overall understanding of the best practices that are considered to be in their role. It will help them to deliver high-quality care and support.
That's not all. Most organisations across multiple business fields have a code of conduct in their operations, which determines the agreed ways of working that an employer has put into place. They may not be legal obligations, but they do provide guidance for best practices.
Supported by the Department of Health and Social Care, DHSC, the Code upholds 7 fundamental principles for you as a caregiver, stating that during practice you must 1. Be accountable by making sure you can explain your acts or omissions. 2. Always promote and protect the privacy, dignity, rights, health and well-being of persons who utilise health and care services, as well as their carers. 3. Collaborate with your colleagues to provide high-quality, safe and compassionate care and support. 4. Communicate openly and effectively to promote the health, safety and well-being of persons using health and care services, as well as their carers. 5. Respect a person's right to secrecy. 6. Work to increase the quality of healthcare, care and support via ongoing professional development. 7. Ensure and promote equality, diversity and inclusion.
Alongside the Code of Conduct for care workers, the Care Certificate is another recognised set of standards for health and social care workers to learn and adhere to in their everyday duties.
Designed by Skills for Care, Health Education England and Skills for Health, they are primarily designed for non-regulated workers, specifically caregivers without formal qualifications, such as doctors, nurses and other practitioners. The certificate allows care workers to become aware of the skills, knowledge and behaviours they need to provide care that is compassionate and effective. There are 15 minimum standards that should be mastered and covered by new or trained caregivers. It is often used as the basis of comprehensive induction programs set up by caregiving organisations. In the UK, it is generally accepted that these standards set the benchmark for adult care workers' basic duties and responsibilities, and care workers usually study them in the early stages of the profession.
In addition to other guidelines and standards, the CQC, Care Quality Commission, also sets up minimum standards that are expected to be displayed by a caregiver. This refers to the level of knowledge and skills that they possess, as well as the quality of service that they provide.
They are considered to be the very least of abilities that a professional should own in their respective caregiving role. Some examples of these designated standards are that a caregiver must show awareness and proficiency with person-centered care, dignity and respect, consent, safety, safeguarding, and many more, which you will find in the resource section.
Building upon the minimum standards outlined by the CQC, caregivers also must adhere to National Occupational Standards, NOS, which are also known as professional standards. These standards apply to most professions in the UK, where workers are expected to achieve certain levels of knowledge and skills in their sector.
The Health and Social Care National Occupational Standards focus on caregivers having the required knowledge, skills and values to provide high-quality care and support. Best practices being promoted in caregiving and associated activities. Appropriate training and qualifications being made available to workers and resulting in qualifications that are relevant to the roles that are attached to them. Consistent standards and values in the adult health and social care sector being met by organisations. This includes acceptable activities and maintenance of health and safety, effective communication, security and confidentiality, safeguarding, hygiene and disease control, personal activities. If you find it challenging to meet the expected standards of your role as an adult care worker, it's your responsibility to take steps to improve the situation. You may choose to seek advice or guidance from your line manager or look to colleagues for support and direction in your position. Constructive feedback at this time can also be extremely useful.
In addition to specific regulations governing caregiving, several other UK government acts and legislation indirectly influence how, as a caregiver, you perform your duties and schedule your services. These include the Control of Substances Hazardous to Health Regulations 2002, the Management of Health and Safety at Work Regulations 1999, and the Manual Handling Operations Regulations 1992.
The Control of Substances Hazardous to Health Regulations 2002, also known as COSH, are legal guidelines as to how potentially toxic or poisonous substances should be handled and stored. The Management of Health and Safety at Work Regulations 1999 guides and influences health and safety protocols in the workplace. And the Manual Handling Operations Regulations 1992 ensures that the handling of persons or heavy objects is done in a manner that ensures the safety of all those in the vicinity.
We have reached the end of this module. We've explored foundational concepts and legal frameworks that shape your practice as a caregiver. However, do check the resource section for in-depth information. And stay tuned for the next module, where we will get into your rights and responsibilities under key legislation, such as the Care Act 2014 and the Equality Act 2010, as well as navigating the dynamics of agreed ways of working in caregiving. See you there.